So hello everyone and welcome to our stream. Today we're broadcasting the semifinals of the Minsk Shogi Classic. My name is Ivan Martsev and I'm gonna comment this game and everything that happens in it. Um, yeah, I don't know. I know I'm not looking like the guy in the preview, but I broke my glasses and everything else is similar. So this is just the way it is. Unfortunately, I have some sound issues, so I won't be able to let you hear something always. I will sometimes turn off the sound for you not to feel confused about the sounds in here. Yeah, what can I say? Now we can see players just wait until the game starts, just talking about something. Um, uh, we have a game between Nikita Pytalev and Sergey Korchitsky, and Sergey Korchitsky is really the kind of player that don't need introduction, at least in Shogi community at all. He's one of the strongest amateur players of Shogi, and he won Belarusian championship many times, and of course, well, what to say? He's still one of the top players of Belarus and of the world, and well, that just tells you everything about Sergey as a player. And um, Nikita Pytalev is the third Dan, and he's just, of course, a very strong player. And his last game against Sergey, he won. So that's actually is going to be a very interesting battle. Um, so you're free to interact with me. You're free to write anything in the chat. Please do so because we're gonna have quite a long game, and of course we will go through it like a voyage on the cruise ship. You know, like it won't always be thunder, but once it comes, we will enjoy it. I mean, as much as people on the ship can enjoy thunder, you know. Um, for now, we're just waiting for players to start. Once again, there's nothing disturbing them because this is actually the best tournament in Minsk for playing conditions. Let's put it this way, because there are no kids that come around your table and come to watch your game, and no sounds of clocks like ringing on the other board. I'm gonna also add their names now to the clipboard so that you could see that. Sorry about that. That's gonna be fixed in a few seconds. I'm gonna do the same for Sergey. I don't know if you can hear that, but actually, Nikita is talking about his complications while he was commenting on games in the same tournament. And well, thank you for understanding my situation because it's really like a mess of when you're trying to set things and yeah, what to say. The game is about to start, and this is great because well, we'll finally have something to talk about, and I wonder what you think will be the opening of this game, because the last game of Sergey I'm sorry, I just have to stick to either Russian or English pronunciation of their names. So the last game they played, it was in Yukofudori, and it was a banger. I mean, it was a tactical skirmish, and well, what to say? I think Sergey is principled player enough to go for that opening again. So I'm really looking forward for them to repeat this to show some new variations, maybe. And yeah, what to say? Yuko Fudori is just a very exciting opening. Oh, some moves are already played. I'm sorry. Um, just a bit. Um, okay, I'm sorry. I need to set up the link for. Okay, I think I did. So the play went like um. Sorry. Okay, I can finally make some moves. Oh no. I am sorry. Everything's messed up today. Okay, so finally it shall be seen. So these are the first moves. And I mean, it still might go into the opening of Yakufudori, but it's not very likely at all. Mm, so hmm. It's interesting how both Sergey and Nikita push these edge pawns so early. Um, it's a typical move for these Aigakari type of positions, but mm, I'm not sure if, well, if Gata should push the edge pawns so early. But anyway, that's a useful move to make, and there's no real punishment for it. So yeah, just completely fine. I'm gonna show this right now. I'm sorry. So it was like this, this, and this. So this is how the edge pawn got pushed. Um, okay, I think I can finally go back there. Hmm. I'm sorry, for some reason the translation from the other channel is messed up, but I'm gonna fix that. I hope so. Yeah. Okay, so well, judging by the first moves, of course, it's gonna be a Bisha. And what to say? This is something that we could expect from these players. I mean, Sergey plays Tatakruk for like, well, uh, for quite a long. I mean, he plays for like 20 years or something like that. So yeah, and every player in their life plays Tatakruk, so no wonder he did. and no wonder he actually has some knowledge about it. And Nikita, as far as I know, is pure static player. Like perhaps he tried range in rug, but well, not many times I've seen that. Meanwhile, um, Sergey made a pawn push, and this might actually give us some structural intel. Like perhaps this is not going to be some sort of quick attack, more of Kosugakugin positions, more of like sit and silver, and um, well, what to say? Um, for now, players just choose their setups they want to stick to, and Nikita hasn't already committed where the route of this silver on the 7-1 square, and when he does, we will actually get a lot of information about how exactly Nikita wants to play against the setup of Sergey, which hasn't already been like decided, but nevertheless. Oh, and I messed the words up because for some reason I thought Sergey was playing black. I'm sorry about that. Nikita has done everything that I set for Sergey, so he chose this particular setup, and Sergey hasn't committed his pawns yet. So we're gonna see what he plays. As far as I see Nikita, um, yeah. So um, well, I'm sorry about that. Mhm. So we can see that Sergey finally pushed his pawn to 8 5, and uh, I'm gonna make a move like that. Nikita has already moved his goal to 7 8. Um, so there's nothing really wild going on. This is just a typical structure. The only thing I can say is perhaps, or I would say most likely, Sergey will trade his static rook pawn, his 8 file pawn, and well, this is going to lead to some sort of different type of play because he can choose, for example, I can show you. So, for example, when this pawn, when it gets traded, like um, this, let's say, um, let's say center puts the pawn here, and now Ganda has options to retreat, for example, here and here, and this would be different setups structurally. Also, for example, wherever basically Gata push moves the rook, so then just for example a couple of moves like we give. Um, I just want to show you how the silver has now um, how it can now accomplish the 8 5 square, where in setups where this pawn isn't traded, the silver can't go here obviously, and this is the structural difference, and the difference in the form of attack that it might come actually. So this is kind of important. Nevertheless, it's very typical to trade these pawns, so nothing really wild goes on. For some reason, um, when I moved to the well to to the to the study room where I actually moved the pieces. So for some reason, the translation of on our another channel or like another translation without my comment for some reason disappears, and I'm sorry about that. I for now don't know how to fix it, and we can actually see Sergey doing exactly what I said. Um, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out moves um uh for Nikita. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. So I'm just 1 second. I have some troubles. Okay, so um as I said, this pawn finally got traded, and well, we'll we'll see where Sergey moves his rook, and he moved it there. Okay, very interesting. So he took the side pawn, the seventh file pawn of Senta, and well, this is very interesting because I have no experience or like no theoretical background of this variation. Um, when you see a rook take this pawn, you usually see two rooks doing that. But in this type of structure, I haven't seen that. But it's very logical to do that because actually the rook can just keep taking the pawns of the sixth rank, and given that Nikita has already uh, decided to play sit in silver, it's actually a very logical decision what to say. Um, so the engine in this position it gives little preference to Gotha to white, but I don't think that this structural like difference makes any big difference. Okay, the interesting thing happened. Nikita here traded bishops, and um, I'm sorry, I just gotta do this and that. Hmm. So Nikita has decided to trade the bishops, but he hasn't made the next move quick, which means perhaps he's still fluctuating about what his decisions should be in this position. Uh, of course, things that come to mind is like, let me show you, um, like dropping the bishop here to fork the rook and the pawn, and of course this is protected by this move. But like, of course, when you see the rook just you know uh, walking around your camp, you might consider some bishop drops, and perhaps that that's what Nikita is relying on right now. Um, wait, I'm sorry, I haven't removed these moves. I really should because they have not been played. Mm. I really have no idea what to do with this, but just for you to understand, when the screen below me disappears, I move to 8-1 dodger, where I move the pieces, like where you position this, where you can see the position that I just make up by making pieces in this website. But well, uh, for some reason, the screen below me disappears when I do that, and I have no idea what to do with that. Nevertheless, we can still see the screen generally, so I think it's okay. So for now, as far as I can see, neither Nikita nor Sergey have some like very dangerous attacks with help of these bishops they trade because of the very solid structure. Basically, of course, Nikita should protect his 4-6 pawn with by moving the silver to 4-7. and what to say, the raw shogi to be played. Mm. Uh-huh. And it's moved by Nikita. I'm going to show you. Yeah, so he moved the horse up, the knight. I'm sorry. I know that the hieroglyph below the top one on the knight basically means the horse, as I understand it correctly, with hieroglyphs. But I mean, everybody calls it horse because for chess players it is easy to understand. So yeah, I'll keep doing that. So. Uh, this horse move is of course no novelty in this type of setups. It just moves out to then usually either support a pawn drop on the 8 file in some particular positions, if it hasn't already been dropped, of course, which is the case. But in other positions, it can jump to 6-5 and actually launch an attack on 5-3, which is hard to execute in this particular position, but well, this might be the plan for the future. This might be a tactical possibility at some point. So um, this is something that's worth considering, I think. Sergey also hasn't committed his 7-1 and 6-1 generals to anything. Like they can make any sort of structure out of that, which is good. Like always good to have your pieces flexible. It's interesting, though, that Nikita hasn't chosen to protect his 4-6 pawn. I wonder if this is an opportunity for Sergey to take it right now. Um, I don't see an immediate reputation of that. Like, if Rook just takes the 4-6 pawn, I don't really see any consequences after that. Perhaps that might give up some tempo in development, but the thing is, in these type of positions, I think the tempo doesn't matter all that much because once again, the generals of Gotha are very flexible and they can move anywhere, and the king can move anywhere. So doesn't really matter all that much. Um, Besides, Nikita and Sergey have already traded bishops, so of course that might be a contribution to attack furthermore, but there's no like immediate attack that's Senta can launch, or at least I don't see that. The engine actually proves my words to be right. It just has to take the 5-6 pawn and just be better in the opening. Of course, it's not that easy, but um, just to point out that the engine has general preference um, for this type of positions where the rook can actually take other pawns on the rank. Um, hmm. In this type of positions, and I think it's worth mentioning, you should really care about the open diagonals, of course, because the bishops are traded. But I point that out because the last game that Nikita and Sergey played with one another, uh, Sergey, from my perspective, made a very let's put it this way. He made a strange decision to firstly put the pawns to 4-6 and to and then to 3-5. This was actually a Kofudori, and not what's going on the board right now. But the point was that um, Sergey made the ears of the king on 5-8 weaken that last game, and I think that somehow it didn't really do much good for him, but rather gave Nikita some tactical opportunities to start the clash. Actually, the engine changed their mind and just decided to move the rook to 7-4. Um, okay, it just keeps thinking. So it's interesting, really. Like, for what reason? Like, I would say that silver to 7-2 is a bit hard move to make when you trade your bishops, because then, of course, dropping the bishops on a2 may become a very good opportunity. But nevertheless, there doesn't seem to be all that much threat in general. Like, the silver just moves to 7-2, the bishop just drops to 8-8. I can show it because the players don't make moves for now. So, uh, say, so the silver goes there, the bishop goes there, and of course the lance is attacked, so it needs to be moved, uh, or else Santa just takes it for granted. And once this lance moves, I mean, Santa can promote, but it doesn't really do that much good for them. Like, they just wasted a bishop and cornered him, and well, it can even be trapped. Like, it moves like this, let's say, because these squares, like the squares around the promoted bishop, like 9-2, it is blocked. It is simply blocked, and well, it isn't clear what it is doing here in this position. So yeah, even though it looks like silver to 7-2 creates a hole in goddess position, it's actually is harmless, I think. Of course, I don't know, like, for what particular reason, because I'm not very experienced in this type of mutual static rook positions, but nevertheless. Oh, I'm sorry for that. Yeah, so we can finally um well, Sergey doesn't rush himself. He just takes some time to think about, like, what structure perhaps he wants to play, because, like, even despite taking the pawn on 4-6 and, for example, moving the rook to 7-4, isn't like they aren't very different options, because they're interchangeable. I think just the rook can go to the fourth rank per se and still have a nice structure, but like, God will still have a nice structure of the things. But well, what to say? Uh, Overall, perhaps some moves like rook takes 4-6 might give sent additional tempo. For example, then I'm gonna show. Um, so for example, the rook takes, and per se general moves up, and for example, God makes any move like per se this, and then just the silver goes up, the rook retreats, and after that, well, um, I'm not exactly sure that this move is very good right now, but the point is, um, Santa just creates their setup quicker. Like the knight is going to go there, and it happened one move faster in spite of the rook actually being under attack of the silver. So this might matter, but as I said, it doesn't really matter all that much in terms of advantage. It just matters in terms of what position you want to play. And Sergey, I think, is choosing right now what exact variation he wants to continue with. I'm sorry for our players disappearing. So yeah, we just wait out for the next move. As I said, feel free to interact because once again, it's well, we're in this for quite a long time. So for us to be enjoyable, just you can ask me anything, and well, um, for now, there's nothing in the chat except some deleted messages, um, which is completely understandable because, well, there's another translation on our Ginkamori channel, and well, it is commented by two of the strongest Belarusian shogi players, by Tanyan, Vincent, and Don Stergevich. So, of course, that's of no wonder if people choose this over just, my comment. But anyway, we're going to host this, and we're going to see who wins this game, and hopefully, we will enjoy the show. Mm-hmm. So Sergey actually chose to move the gold here, and um, it's an absolutely okay decision. Like, oh, just I thought perhaps that Sergey would choose something um sharper. Let's put it this way. Like this setup, if I understand correctly, what Sergey is going to do, it's very solid, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure about it. Once again, I have some theoretical background only on Yukufudori type of position, and this is not Yukufudori because, of course, Senta hasn't moved the second file pawn, and well, and hasn't traded it and hasn't taken like the side pawn, so it's very different things, and I'm not really experiencing them. The general like difference between the setups, of course, like we saw that around this 8-2 square, if the silver goes to 7-2, there might be some different play over it. Oh, like pieces can drop there trying to get the knight and the lance. Of course, as I said, that doesn't seem to be the case in this very position. That was one move earlier. But um, anyway, that would be an opportunity for some time in the future. If one side, for example, gets way more pieces in hand, like um, it's hard to show from this particular position, but just in a hypothetical, in a perfect world, let's put it this way. And this setup with gold on 7-2, um, uh, it's very solid, but it just gives an intel that now the king, Goddess King, is going to castle either to his left, meaning to the generals on 3-2 and 2-2, or it is going to move up to 5-2 and be there. And it's interesting what option Sergey would choose among these two. So, while I was talking about that move, Nikita has already decided, well, what his structure would be, and he's still not scared of Gotta taking the pawn on 4-6, so he just keeps moving generals. So Nikita played this move, and well, nothing really to tell about this move. It's just as I told you. For example, when the rook takes the pawn on 4-6, the silver can move to 4-7 with tempo, and it might be actually uh, beneficial for Santa. I mean, of course it will be, but as I said, the advantage won't be significant. It's really more interesting for me to see right now, like between what options Sergey is choosing. Because Nikita's plan, especially after this move, is almost undoubtedly to castle to the left side. And, well, uh, he isn't going to castle uh, in any sort of Yagura castle. It's just an opportunity for him to move his king this side. He might even not castle at all, just the king might stay. But there are some moves played, as I can see, and yeah, it finally happened. So Sergey took the pawn, and the silver moved up. And I think the next move won't take us too much time. Yeah, so uh, it was obvious that the rook would retreat here. I mean, there were seemingly no other options at all. And we're still in this position where Sergey hasn't already committed his king to castling any side. And, well, Nikita has made some certain commitments, which is not bad for him. It's just like a fact. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so um, Nikita plays the move that basically plays itself. I mean, when you see these two golds on 7-8 and 5-8, of course you want to put a silver in between of them. And yeah, this is now grab. I'm really bad at demonstrating the way grab moves usually. But anyway, sorry about that. So as it was told, basically Sergey hasn't made any commitment, and well, this flexibility in this type of mutual static rook situations is very important, I think, because I saw games where, for example, the king stayed in the center for the entire opening, and then in the middle game it just walked on the other side like nothing happened. And well, what to say? Um, for that reason, I like Sergey's positioning more. Um, mm-hmm. Yeah, so Sergey has moved his rook back to the 8 file. And the engine is immediately thinking some bishop drops to 7-5 perhaps. Uh, which is interesting, by the way, because once again, in this type of openings, when some pressure can be put on 5-3, well, at times some side can rush with that. And so bishop to 7-5 does exactly that. But of course, it has defense. Let me show you. So here and here, like even if the horse goes up, if the knight goes up, I'm sorry, it's kind of difficult for me. And then let's say the general moves there and everything is defended. But the general opportunity to attack this 5-3 square, it's I would say it's very important in Yuka Fudori types of position. But okay, this is not it, but this is something similar because Nikita has moved his knight to 7-7, and it is very important from the standpoint of possible tactics in the future. So okay, this moves there. Mhm. Yeah, so there are plenty of moves made. So first of all, this silver, it went here, which is really interesting because um, by this move, Nikita chooses not to like guarantee his way to then develop his knight. Like per se, he might have done this. I'm not like calculating some possible bishop drops right now, although I think there are no bishop drops at this point. But no, still, like I'm just want to explain what I'm going to show you. So, for example, the general moves there, and well, the knight moves up, and there are no like moves like that, of course, because the silver would just capture this. But by moving this way, uh, Nikita perhaps makes this a possibility in the future. Although, of course, it's not as clearly executable. Like this is the move Sergey played next, and for example, uh, like let's say this is the move, like or this, and just then, for example, if the bishop drops there, of course, it's going to be protected by gold. So I don't really mean that it is as easy as I say, but it's a possibility. But it's an interesting decision for Nikita anyway to control these front squares on a 7-5 and 4-5 um, instead of just having more control over the head of this knight. I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but perhaps Sergey will prove us something. So there are plenty of moves made while I try to explain previous moves. Yeah, so um, Sergey decided that his structure would be like this, and Nikita just moved his rook to the 4-8. Hmm. This is a very interesting decision, and I think there are no punishments like, for example, dropping the bishop there because there's an immediate counter. But no, anyway, once again, this might be a possibility in the future, and it's interesting that Nikita chose this line of sight instead uh, of the second file, which is of course blocked by the pawn, which is most likely uh, untradeable. Like let's put it this way: like the pawn moves there for it to trade further, and then just the general moves up there, and now it's impossible. So the rook would have been kind of stuck on that file, perhaps. Um, and yeah, it's an interesting thing that Nikita previously has moved his silver there to then launch the attack this way, or on the fourth file. I haven't considered that, which makes it even more interesting to me. So let's see what happens next. For now, there are no more new moves, so just waiting out for uh, well, for players making their next moves. Hmm. One thing that is, or that might be worth pointing out, is that there are some ideas to trade the rooks in the future. Like, let me show you. For example, the horse moves here, firstly to cover the 4 or 5 square from silver moving to it. And let's say, well, center makes any move. And then the rook of Gata can move there. And now there's no this move because of this, and the knight now covers this square. And generally, there is this idea to move the rook here and just push this rook away. Because if you trade rooks, I mean, uh, this is what I'm talking, what I was talking about. Let's put it this way: like uh, what Sergey did with his structure, it hasn't really got any, for example, like holes to capitalize off, and this makes these trades much better for Gata. And now there are opportunities like once again random move. and now this entire side is empty. So gotta construct an attack there. So of course, well, Santa's not forced to trade, but in this case, like, what are they going to do? Like, step back with the silver? I mean, okay, you just wasted the tempo, so it's definitely good for Gotha. Of course, now Gotha can like if Gotha return goes back, then it's just same story. Like Gotha has always wasted a move, but uh, the point is Gotha is not really obliged to do this right now, so that they might waste that tempo in the future, like this entire idea, or maybe well, just for example, not move the rook back instantly, but just keep castling and seeing what happens next. Because the thing is, uh, Nikita has really only his attack needed to be improved. Like he's already castled. Of course, he can move his king further, but I don't think it will do like much good for him because I see no sense in doing that. Um, so, like, let's say in this position, like Sergey plays something like this, and like, what's Santa's next move? I can see. Like, perhaps he might, of course, do this, trying to move the knight there in the future. But okay, I mean, the point is the silver still won't be able to move because then the rooks will be traded. So um, generally, I would say this is an instant idea for Nikita, but I'm not sure if this works. But let's see. Still no moves played. Okay. Hmm. And Sergey does exactly what I thought. Like he goes with the knight here. It's interesting. Uh, what to say? Uh, Basically, when the knight moves there, uh, there might be some holes, but the thing is, it's hardly a hole. Like it's easily guarded. And of course, in the future, where both sides have a lot of pieces in their hands, center can do something like this, and then that, and then this. But in this position, it's stupid because like center has no more moves, like has no continuation of the attack. So that won't be the case. But the thing is, um, I just um, I was trying to point out like the possible consequences of committing to this type of structure because knights obviously can't move back. Uh, but overall, it's just very nice to for the knight to be an attacking piece. In this case, it's definitely not though because like this knight isn't really going anywhere. Like 4-5 is guarded by silver and gold of Santa, and 2-5 is guarded by the pawn of Santa. So its purpose is definitely not to move further, but rather to cover these two squares. And as I said, perhaps the idea of some of rook moving to 4-4 is possible now. I wonder what Nikita is going to do about that. Like, um, I'm not sure about other ideas, like other things that Nikita can do. Perhaps he can transfer the silver here, and then he blocks off the road to the rook. But mm, I mean, there's no immediate punishment. Like, for example, gotta place this. I mean, center just moves the silver to 4-6, and well, that's the funny thing. Like, the silver can't move forward because of the well, there are no like squares available. Of course, you may like then like random move like this. Like for example, center can push an attack by this move, but the thing is like every time uh, in this bishop exchanged positions, every time pieces move forward, pieces that can't move back in particular, they create a hole. So it might be a possibility for Gota in the future to capitalize off it, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure like that this move, moving the central pawn, is important in the first place. Like it's just a random move that is aimed to like repute moving silver somehow. Uh, and one of the problems of center's position that's worth pointing out is, of course, they have no pawn in hand, which is very important because, like, let's give center a pawn in a very stupid way. I just want to show what's going to happen. Like, per se, now we want to push back the silver, but now the attack on the fourth file has started because center has got up on their hand. I mean, even in this case, like something like this, and I'm not sure who you're trying to scare, but generally, like these types of attack are possible by a pawn, and Nikita doesn't have one, neither in hand nor on the fourth file. Yeah, so waiting out for the next move. Ah, it has already happened. Interesting. Oh, yes. 1 second. So, the pawn was pushed there, and what can I say? Um, the aim of this move is clearly to develop the knight to 3/7 square, but it doesn't prevent rook to 4/4 idea, which, as it seems, engine doesn't consider all that much. I wonder what it does in this position. I just pushes the pawn to 2/4. Okay, this move I can hardly explain to you. I'll be honest. No, I can actually try. Like, let's try to explain this move. Like, this move, let's say, like perhaps its aim is to do something like potentially that. So to create the pawn that is ready to promote, and well, uh, this might be scary. Like, I don't see a concrete way to continue the attack. I just keep giving the ideas, but okay, I admit there's no like immediate continuation after that, but that still remains an opportunity. I wonder how many times I said that during the stream, but anyway. So yeah, this move to me is hard to make sense of, but obviously it doesn't do any harm really. Oh, and yeah, so Sergey does exactly what I thought. So he moves the king there. Um, uh, I don't mean that that's this. Um, I meant that he shows the structure I expected him to choose because this is very solid. It is common to see in Yukofudori types of positions, or in just okay, let's put it this way, in like uh, in mutual Aikakari types of position, like anywhere when the pawn gets traded, and well, no wonder he chooses to stick to it, even though that's not like the exact positions from some theory of Yokofudori or Aikakari. Still a very solid type of structure. Um, Sergey now doesn't make the move I wanted to make. So let's check this. So now the knight can finally be developed, and for example, if rook moves there, now this 4/5 square can finally be blocked off. Oh, it can't be. I'm sorry, I blundered. Yeah, so perhaps this idea is still viable. Perhaps Sergey just chooses not to execute it right now. As I said, he doesn't have to really, because once again, Git has no pawns. So he can't really like plug the pawn into 4/5 and block this opportunity like no matter what. So I don't know. I would be worried about that idea because it literally forces Santa to, well, make some certain concessions, I would say. But anyway, let's see what happens next. hmm Ah, the, another move has been made by Nikita, and um he pushed this pawn. Okay. This move I did not consider at all. Uh, the purposes of this move maybe among things that I see, like let's make an absolutely random move for Gata. So Santa can then build up like that, which is obviously very solid. Like the concentrations of generals is very high. Nevertheless, I mean, it is very solid castle, but it gives up a general in attack. Like uh, Santa then just can't continue attacking, which I think Santa can't even do like without the pawn, as I said. But uh, well, okay, this might be the option. Um, Another option might be to, for example, move the silver here, which looks a bit odd when you can move the other silver here, but still is the common castle, and this might be the way to go. I doubt that Nikita would do something like that. Obviously, this will be more structurally similar to him because then he will just castle into something similar to Yagura, and well, this is not the Yagura obviously because of the knight on 7/7, but it's still some sort of similar way to build up, especially for example the knights going to join the attack, although now it doesn't seem possible in like any way. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't stick to this option. Like, I think it just makes no sense compared to other options that Nikita has in this position. Oh, many things happened while I was talking about that. Yeah. So, uh, Sergey obviously chose not to make a random move, but rather to set an attack by sacking his edge pawn and then plugging pawn in there. Hmm. Uh, Obviously, the edge attack is a very popular option in of well in any positions where any side pawn gets taken by any rook, and yeah, in this variation we can in particular see how this is scary for Nikita. So if Lance takes this pawn, then this pawn just becomes plugged in, and here if Lance keeps taking, then just bishop drop. Very good find by Sergey. uh, so yeah, I wonder what Nikita chooses to defend that. As I said, like this is the reason why I don't like these bishop exchanged positions. Like they're just so like there are so many random opportunities for these bishops to appear on the board randomly, and I oftentimes don't see these opportunities. So it's just uh, you're kind of playing with fire, and you're struggling with your own fear of these bishops exchanged, which is why no matter the opening. Uh, I'm usually trying not to exchange bishops. Nevertheless, let's see what Nikita did. He hasn't done anything for now. He just took the pawn and, well, he got another one straight into Lance's face. It's very interesting, though, that. Ah, I see the reason why the engine is not scared. So, look at this. Um, In this position, the engine claims that this move is possible. So, or wait, I'm sorry, not in this particular order. I'm gonna look at the variation that the engine suggests. Mm-hmm. Yes. So it does suggest to do that. So watch this. Uh, the pawn gets dropped here, and now, for example, if takes, then this bishop is pinned. So it takes lance, and the rook of Gata gets taken. And well, good point by the engine. What to say? I didn't see it all. Like all these variations, I have blundered, which is quite bad. But like again, it's hard to calculate this way of protection when you don't see like this edge attack opportunity and this bishop drop in general. Yeah, so uh, you know what? The engine seems to claim that this is not the idea. So the engine seems to claim that this, and then this. For example, the gold moves and bishop gets promoted. Like, let's say there, I don't know exactly where the engine wants me to do that, but yeah, this seems like this is an option. Hmm. Very curious. Hmm. For example, but I don't really get why this doesn't work. Ah, now I do because of this. Yes, and this is just a horrible position for Senta to play because, as I said, Gotha has a rook in their hand. Yeah, and no matter really what Senta does against the check, like it can go there this way, but then I mean, Gotha has just advantages, like it can take the rook straight away, and there are too many holes in Senta's camp. Wow. Yeah, this is the reason I started liking mutual static rook positions because there are always tactics playing over the board, and yeah, this is a very nice thing to see, and hopefully even better thing to watch. I'm sorry, I um haven't moved pieces back to the actual position, and the actual position is this. So I wonder if Nikita will manage to find this opportunity. Uh, by Sergey's reaction to what he thought, uh, perhaps he has already found a refutation to this variation. But let's see. I mean, when you have to like save a position, you kind of try to find logically like what is the only move that doesn't allow the things that I don't want to happen to actually happen. I mean, um, and the problem with this position is that the line I showed you with dropping the pawn to 4-4, with putting the bishop to 2-1, it doesn't really prevent Gotta's bishop taking any of those lances. Like it just wants to create the play of their own, which makes it even harder to find for Nikita. But it is an option that creates some counterplay, and well, hopefully hopefully he can find this option to keep struggling. Yeah, so he takes the pawn, gets the bishop, and what's the next move? I think at this point Nikita's just double checking on his calculations because he obviously knew that this bishop drop is going to happen. Yeah, so let me make those moves for you not to be confused, maybe. Hmm. I wonder actually. I think we can like keep thinking about that line that the engine wanted. Like, wait, but the engine actually reconsidered. You know what? I'm not sure. Like, you see that move on the screen, obviously, but the engine just wants to do that. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, uh, your pieces are hanging, and you just let them die. Like, you just let the bishop promotes and stuff, and it just says, well, that's got his better only by 5%. Like, by 10% overall, but like the scale has moved only for 5%. That's what I meant. I mean, there is a proverb that uh, when you have your pieces forked, you should really ignore this fork. But still, like hmm. This is hard move to make, I would say. Like even harder than the tactical variation that the engine suggested before. And like it's more surprising to me that uh, this variation is only like changing the scale for only 5% for Sergey, because I mean obviously now he has pawns, maybe he can create some sort of play, Nikita I mean, but I don't really see those options in particular. Hmm. Very interesting. Did something happen? I'm trying to check it on the screen. I see. Okay, now the engine reconsidered once again. Once again. Yeah, okay. Um, I think I've shown you like main options that the engine suggested. So really waiting for Nikita's next move. Like silver 6-7. Wow, it's insane. Oh, and Nikita does put the pawn to 4-4. Okay. Yeah, and he stands out from the table. Yeah, so um, once again, we have seen the line that goes like this uh, and this, and then the gold moves, and the bishop comes out promoting. So, yeah. But then, yet again, like, what is the counterplay? Ah, maybe I know what the option is. Like, let's say the bishop takes either lance, like, let's say this. I don't emphasize that now, although I think this is better because this bishop might then participate in blocking this rook on the fourth file. But the option might be to do. Hmm. No, this move is impossible. I thought this and then I blundered, yeah, this. So this move is definitely impossible. Um, so so difficult to play. I don't know. Like I have no idea. I mean, of course, this bishop can harass this rook per se, and the rook can go back, and then maybe some idea of pushing the edge pawn to creating counterplay where, uh, well, where Gotta's defenders are weaker. But I mean, it's still like to me, it's incomparable to just a promoted bishop straight up taking knights and lands on the flank. Like for the engine, it's okay. Also, there are maybe some ideas of dropping the pawn there to make a promoted pawn later on, which isn't really a big deal. But for example, in the future, once again, if this happens, like just make some random moves for a center. Like if this pawn comes here, then in the future, it might block the king from running to the left, uh, or serve as a spot to drop other pieces, like some generals around this left goal. So it's very interesting. This option doesn't seem to be all that much scary, but like it's just general opportunity. Yeah, and I think, yeah, this all did not happen. This happened though. Ah, okay. The trade happened. Oh, no, no, no. Nikita blundered just what I did. Oh, no. I mean, to me, it's weird, though, because Nikita, as far as I remember, is, so he played, like, simple chess, like European chess, let's say. Um, and this tactic is very common, especially on the beginner level, when the piece gets out of the way of another piece to create to attack. Like, and then I mean, this happens. Apparently, Nikita blunders that. I thought, maybe that um, for that Nikita might have seen that tactic in European chess and might apply that to his thinking in shogi, of course. But apparently, even if he does have some experience, it did not help him, which is a pity. I think now game will proceed to be way easier, at least from the like strategical point of view for Sergey. And I know the engine doesn't really react all that much, but come on, the engine is a bozo. Like, I'm sorry, it's just the truth. So let's illustrate these moves on the board. Yeah. Yeah, and Nikita takes the promoted bishop with his knight, which of course seems way more human compared to just moving the rook back. I mean, it is the principled move you want to make, but I don't know. Perhaps it makes less structural concessions. Once again, like, um, let's put it this way. Let me show you the board. So, taking this. So, uh, I think pawn here is like obligatory, because if you don't make this move and make some random one, you just straight up get mated. So you kind of have to block the rook or just interrupt its influence on the pile in any possible way. But then some sort of move like even now, like the move like this becomes possible because the knight left the square. Well, for example, if the rook went back and it got a one for the trade, uh, I don't know, like I think I would take with the gold. Like, of course, there are many spots to drop this rook on left flank of center as well. But well, it just the point is that first of all, Gota's rook hasn't moved there yet, which is important, and because once again, then rook just threatens mate, uh, and now there are still many empty spots to drop this rook to, but nevertheless, well, this spot is covered by knight actually standing there. Yeah. Anyway, let's see what happened. So yeah, there's this. Yeah, and of course, pawn got here. The rook moved back. Sergey could have used his rook right now, like for example, to make a move like this, but he doesn't have to rush apparently because obviously Santa definitely won't be able to like plug in all the holes of their camp. So Sergey is free to do that really. The question is, uh, where is Santa's counterplay? Perhaps like when you see a spot like that, you really want your knight there. Let's be honest, and maybe that's an opportunity. like this move looks silly, but anyway, like if this, like let's say this happens, now if any random move, then I just will be there. Nevertheless, it's not scary at all because God, I can just put upon there in the first place, and yeah, I mean, I don't see many options for Nikita to create some counterplay. Perhaps the engine does. Let's check it. Hmm. The engine suggests to move the king, which is like it's a logical move. So the point is that when the king moves, uh, it will be then blocked by golden generals that will be able to go down. But yeah, I mean, of course, it's a necessary defensive resource. It's just I hope that our dear friend would show us something related to attack, but for now it doesn't. So we just have to hang out with this position. No moves have been played. Um, I'm not sure if is the perfect time to announce that, but I think it's better than not to announce it at all. So today, in literally 2 hours, we are going to have a tournament, an online tournament, Ginsan. Uh, we held many of those tournaments, and we sent beautiful prizes for those who win these tournaments. So you can join it. I will leave the link for you to register if you want to, and there's not much time left to be registered, less than 1 hour. But still, if you want to play, if you have time in today's evening and uh, next day's evening, so perhaps you can participate and well enjoy the experience of fighting strong players in online. I'm just going to find the link. Mm. Which is problematic to me, but okay. So this we copy. Ah, I just realized I can't really post links in the chat as it is for now, but well, I can do that from my phone. So just also Sergey was writing something in the chat. Yeah, I didn't see it unfortunately, but yeah, the um, um, Sergey Lysenko in the comments in the chat he points out this edge attack, which I blundered. Yeah, so good find, and you know, but for me, um, no moves have been played as far as I can see. And yeah, I mean, this position is already way tougher for Nikita to play, I would say, even despite the scale not being that like one-sided according to the engine. Yeah, so and Nikita tries the option I was talking about. So he tries to trade the knights, which is logical, of course. Like it's always good to get one more attacking piece. It's just I don't think it's going to help him. But yeah, but Engine, of course, now really hates Nikita's position because this is the problem. So the point is that now when the rook gets dropped, Nikita has no has no pieces to block the check, so he has to do that with the bishop from his hand, and this is why the engine hates this so much. Yes, of course it's logical. This is what was talking about, like when we used to ponder that variation to move the king to 6-9. Yeah. I just didn't think it would change the scale that much, but apparently it does, and apparently uh, I did bad analysis of this as well. Yeah, I have to admit. Oh, the king just goes for a walk, just randomly across the board, in the middle of the slaughter. Okay, so this is what happened. Like the rook got dropped. Wait, I'm sorry. The rook got dropped, and the king went this way. Hoo-hoo. It's very sharp. It's very interesting that Nikita preferred to save a piece in hand and do this to his king um, rather than wasting a bishop for defensive purposes. It just means that he is more relying on the counterplay, which could possibly be created with the help of two bishops. But I don't see really these options for the counterplay. Like perhaps the engine did, but I still don't really. Wait, I'm sorry. I posted the wrong link in the chat. If someone's able to fix that, please do. I was um so I wanted to paste this link. Just a minute. Ah, I'm doing it from the wrong device. Yeah. And Sergey did something. Yeah, he promoted his rook. Yeah, logical option. Just to do that with the check, of course. And then, for example, the king goes back, like the rook takes the lance, and now if the bishop gets dropped, then just this lance is a killer. I mean, of course, you can give up some material for that. Like, let's put it this way. But this is just horrible position to be in. While, once again, like, Goddess King is very safe compared to what's going on in Santa's camp. Yeah, I need to erase the moves because this did not happen. Yeah, so sorry about that. Just a tiny bit of time. Okay. Yeah, so now I posted the link that is supposed to work. If anybody finds that, that would have been great. Okay, something happened. I don't yet see. Oh, the bishop got dropped now. To me, it's even worse than the case when it was on 4-9, but still. The reason why I say so is because, like, uh, if some things force the king to step back and escape to the left side, then this bishop just gets lost, which was the case when in the scenario when it was dropped to 4-9, but then it just could have been protected by some other pieces, like for gold, let's say. For now, though, it can be protected with the silver, like any random move. Of course, this is not going to happen, just to show you how it can be played structurally. Yeah, so let's have a look at this position. So um, Sergey decided to take the knight. Obviously, it's just an additional piece to use in attack. Like, say the pawn takes the knight, then just the knight uh, gets to the to 6 square, and now it's threatening to just take the bishop. And in this case, of course, Sergey will gain some material advantage. I mean, of course, there's this option, so perhaps this shouldn't be done like right now, right in this position. It can be done by firstly plugging in this hole, and then, I mean, nobody really covers this square. Of course, like Senta then can waste another bishop for a move like that to just prevent any sort of possible drops. But then, I mean, Rook steps back, and I mean, what is Senta's doing here? Like, there's no attack, there's hardly any positional play. Um, for now, it's not that clear um, for Gata as well, I would say, but at least Gata has like options to, like, let's say this, like this move, a random one, and then once again, like Gata has some like very irritating moves to play that can actually contribute to the huge advantage in the future, and Senta has no such options at all. It seems to me. Yeah, very depressing to play this as Senta, I would say. It already happened. So, um, it's interesting, by the way. So let's see. So the horse, the knight, excuse me, it did not get taken, but rather this move was played. Hmm. I admit it's an instant find because, like, uh, in some scenario like this, like it's a weird move, of course, but in case this happens, like this rook is trapped. So just a funny detail, but of course Sergey won't play like this. He just will take the pawn. In which case, I don't really see the continuation for Santa once again. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure what's the point of this idea. The engine, by the way, does it in a more like professional way. Like, firstly, before taking this pawn with the rook, it just drops the pawn there to remove the bishop from the long diagonal. Just very interesting thing to point out. Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, no moves have been played after that. So we're just waiting for players to ponder their options. They really have a lot of time for that. I don't see the how much exactly they have, but apparently not as much as I thought. Nikita's down on block, down to 12 minutes, while Sergey is at 22. So Sergey has that advantage as well. Sergey is generally, I would say, quite good at managing his thinking time. Like, of course, he oftentimes gets to byoyomi when playing stronger players, but that's the point of playing stronger players. And what I would like to say before that is that he, um, even in positions when the move asks for itself, he always takes some time to think. And this is just mm, this is just the thing that illustrates how careful he is. Oftentimes, uh, I say that from experience because that's what I remember was the way he thought in was the way he thought in games with me. Hmm. If you have come up with any options for Nikita to play further, like after the scenario where the promoted rook takes the pawn, oh, please write it in the chat because I apparently have no idea. Like, I have no things in mind, like, to come up with. Like, of course, perhaps in this position, like, Nikita is relying on the 4-4 square, which is very suitable for the knight, but that's really one of the only things I would say. And yeah, Sergey did this just as the engine suggested, so he dropped the pawn there. Yeah, I mean, it's a logical move, and it's just a little detail that doesn't change the game all that much. Nevertheless, it is important to restrict opponent's pieces and to make their position worse. And this is just a small detail that usually demonstrates um, that the player is strong enough to understand that he has time to do that, and he doesn't necessarily have to uh, immediately try to make some moves. Like for example, Rook would take the pawn in a way, but he understands that he has time to well to limit the opponent's bishop, so he does. And yeah, so the bishop has taken the pawn. The rook took this one, and we now have this position. Mm, I can't really currently find any sort of particular attacking ideas for Nikita, but perhaps we might try to find the continuation for Sergey. So, I had this idea in mind. I'm going to show you right now. So, like once again, mm, any move by Santa, I think this is like the proper one at the very least, and and then Santa makes random move like not hurting anything in this, I'm just trying to point out the idea. The idea might have been this, but then the bishop comes here and protects the pawn that could fork these generals very nicely. So that's not really the idea. This scenario, I would say, is likely to happen for, well, for the reason that you just don't want to allow to don't want to allow don't want to allow I'm very sorry, the rook to be active on the second file. So you just block it up. Of course, like, I'm not sure if this is necessary right now, but this is definitely a thing that needs to be done at some point in time. And let's say, for example, if the pawn rook takes there, then, I mean, the silver can just come this way. Although, even in these positions, like, you start considering taking stuff, like this, then this move, yeah, which is, it looks scary with no pieces in hand. Of course, it's not, but you just start thinking stuff like that. And here, what I would like to say is that despite the position being extremely advantageous for Sergey, he doesn't have an immediate win here, doesn't have any tactical shots to finish the clash, so he needs to think more about this position strategically, which is a different story from the position that can be won by tactics. But you know what I noticed? Like, this move happens, so as we said, there's no point in doing this because this, or it seems like there's no point, at least. But what are the other options? Like, go in there, just here, and you can't go this way because then the bishop takes the promoted rook. If you go there, then you still get pushed to go there, which makes me think that there should be either some, like, moves in between, but there are no such moves. Like, there are no checks, there are no possibility for dropping some pieces to attack the king in some, like, uh, in some threatening manner. But then this option just seems like the only thing that's Gata can stick to currently. So let's see the actual position. Okay, so Nikita played it another way. So as I thought, and as I said, of course, Nikita doesn't have to do this move right now to drop the pawn onto 7, but apparently it does. It does because now, after this move, the same sequence, like 1, 2, 3, and now the rook can go to this square because the pawn's blocking off the bishop. So I was mistaken on that one. But yeah, I just hardly thought of an opportunity to trap the rook in the first place, but actually, it does get trapped without this move, and it would have got trapped if the pawn was dropped to 7 one move earlier. Yeah, it's still not clear how to win this position for Sergey. Let's see the move he made though. So he still doesn't make a move. Yeah, of course I think Sergey expected a pawn drop to 7 more than anything in this position. So now he has to abandon his previous calculations and just stick to the new ones. Very interesting. There is some thinking to be done on what can be executed by Gotha to get some advantage or to convert it. Like, let's actually try to count things. Like, we open this, then this move. So of course we want the pawn there, and when we see this, we of course want to take the pawn. But there's no real point in taking the pawn. Or is there? Maybe there actually is, because once this happens, then the bishop can go back. And, I mean, it's the same thing, but, like, when this is done, like, it still isn't, because, yeah, now the path is open for the rook to escape this net, like, anywhere. Let's see, this way. It's very curious. So, okay, taking that into account, I think taking the pawn is not an option. But then what is the option? Like, the thing is, the after that sequence, after that move, um, well, this is like these two positions, like 2-4 and 1-4, are pretty much like among the worst positions for promoted rook. So, and of course, if this pawn gets taken, then there are some possible drops of other pawns of Gotha on 3-7, which actually makes me wonder how scary it is. Yeah, this position, at least to me, it really needs a long time and hard concentration to process. Because, like, like I see options like this, for example, and then like if Sergey doesn't want to trade but rather wants to move the rook anywhere, like go this, or even maybe he might take this, because once again this formation is very solid and it doesn't have any holes in it, which Santa can immediately capitalize on. But anyway, like in this position, like even move like a move like that, for example, just aiming to grab the lance and then maybe to attack this 3-7 square even more. Like, what's the plan? Like, what is Senta doing in this position? I have no idea. Mm, oh, okay, so there were some moves. Okay, so Sergey did what I was talking about earlier. Instead of pushing the pawn, so he didn't push the pawn, he dropped the knight here. For now, I think this option is not as strong, because like even if, I mean, okay, so let's be honest, the bishop doesn't really have anywhere to go except this square. Okay. Okay, so he wants to do that and then to drop the pawn here. Yeah, this is what he wants, I think. I mean, yeah, now the gold is simply trapped. So I wonder what Nikita can play after this move. Like, if he keeps, for example, harassing the rook, then, I mean, just we take the bishop, then the rook gets taken, like, and this thing gets played, like, then king might capture, but we just gained, like, 2 bishops for 1 rook. which is a huge material advantage. Once again, there's no like immediate way to capitalize off it, but just it is generally very scary. Funny thing is, this bishop drop is still possible in the scenario where this happens. It's I'm pretty sure it will never happen in this game because it's just very bad to give up that much material for center. So, and in case the goal takes, then there are moves like this and like maybe even this move. This is what I told you. Like if king like tries to escape, then these pieces are just not guarded, and actually one of these pieces in this scenario will definitely be lost. So yeah, this move is definitely a good find by Sergey. Nikita though drops the pawn, and now you can see the percentage. Sergey has huge advantage because if this is going to happen, then just the advantage will be overwhelming, like material advantage and positional advantage both for Gata. So yeah, very very bad position to play for Nikita. And that early tactic that allowed Sergey to gain the rook is really was really a bad one to miss by Nikita. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so I think Sergey is now thinking either to double check his calculations or he just did not expect that Nikita would be ready to give up that much material by dropping this pawn. So, yeah, anyway, we'll see what he's thinking very shortly. Yeah, the engine just shows the scale and it is no good for center. What can I say? Yeah, so it was pointed out in the chat that there is not much time to register for the tournament I was talking about our Vincent tournament. But anyway, there are still 20 minutes to register yourself, and well, if you can, we're glad if you do so. And yes, I will play in the championship today. Yeah, despite well, uh, despite the game being actually quite a long one, I think it's absolutely possible to schedule. Has anything been played? I think no. The only problem with this variation that we discussed is, per se, knight takes or gets taken, like this move, that move, and perhaps the only issue is that it's a bit hard to see like the exact continuation. Like, what would it be? I think we need to ponder that. Maybe there is some sort of a pawn drop firstly, because if gold takes, then the bishop can get dropped here, and it would just gain some material and also remove some defenders and also infiltrate. Though this move, like this, I'm not sure um, whether God has improved their tactile that much. So perhaps that's not the best option. Wait, I'm sorry about that. Hmm. So so in this position, um, the main problem for God in this position is that bishops, of course, are not that good at chasing the king when it runs to the other side because they can only control diagonals, obviously. So that is the problem that is needed to be solved. And there's no clear way to solve it right now, so I think it's just more about some material gainings. Once again, like some pieces like pawn can be dropped to this square, which is, I mean, you need to figure out the way you want to do this because then, for example, in this situation, the gold just goes back. I mean, you can keep throwing pieces, but uh, you need to know that at the end of it all, it will be advantages for you. Like perhaps maybe some variation like this. Maybe you can sack the bishop for the gold here. Some sort of attack like that might happen. Of course, this all happens if gold takes this pawn. In wait, I am very, very sorry. I need to click through this. I misclicked. Okay, so the position is going to occur quite soon. Yeah, so here, in case the gold doesn't take, I mean, it's not all that clear how to continue the attack. Hmm. Maybe with a move like uh, bishop job, I'm sorry, bishop job here you can do this because if gold moves, then just bishop can take this pawn and help with attacking this way. Although then, like, once again, this square is well protected from any draws by the silver and gold. So there are some difficulties in resolving this position. Nevertheless, I'm almost sure that Sergey will find the way. Yeah, so anyway, the position for now is like this. And Sergey still taking time to think about his options. Roma is writing in the chat. He's greeting us. Hello, welcome to our stream. We're into the middle game of this game, and it's not that clear, despite Sergey having big advantage. And Sergey still can't decide what to play in this position. Of course, in this position, I don't really like try to find any options for Santa's counterplay because now it's very difficult for it to continue. I'm sorry, I'll need to leave for a couple of minutes. That's for the reason of well, the specific place I'm in right now. I'm sorry, I will go back in a few minutes. I'm sorry, I forgot that my sound is turned off. Yeah, but um, things that we discussed today happened. Sergey finally decided um, to grab two bishops, and yeah, the game goes on. Sergey um, hasn't made his next move after desperation yet, which means that perhaps there are some complications in resolving it. Okay, so Sergey wanted to play the thing that I wanted to discuss actually, and that's just wait. I'm sorry about that. So um, um, so this, and he dropped upon there to prevent possible drops of the knight here. Engine, of course, wasn't scared of it, but I mean, human, especially like especially as careful player as Sergey is, of course, this move should be considered to prevent some complications in the end game, which Sergey clearly doesn't want, being so much better strategically. Nikita also has made a move. He grabbed he grabbed the knight here, and then Sergey did what the engine wanted him to do. He dropped the bishop here. Um, I'm not sure what is like the greater purpose of this move, to let the rook infiltrate from the left, or rather, for example, to or like in this, or perhaps in that scenario, for the bishop to promote there. Both of these options seem quite normal and uh, useful at the very least, but this option of bishop just promoting over there, it just, once again, for the reason of um, this move not having some particular threats, um, it's perhaps um, a bit difficult to agree with like this entire idea. But anyway, yeah, that is an option that is important, but that's hard to see some proper way to continue. Like, of course, now this pawn is hanging, but for example, in a scenario like this and this, it wouldn't be like the silver would just go back. Make no mistake, like the position of center is actually really bad, but I'm just trying to point out some complications that can occur while converting this game, and these complications perhaps uh, in a very lucky case for Nikita, might give him some second chances, maybe to fight back. And yeah, I need to erase these moves and look at what happened on the board. Okay, so wow, look at the evaluation of the position. So much advantage of Sergey has just disappeared. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is quite a hard position to figure out the right thing. Hmm. So, what happened in the game is the silver went up, and then this pawn moved there. But here, Nikita has like a more than 40% chance to still be in the game, which is actually kind of ridiculous because if I'm not mistaken, the engine wanted to drop the bishop like at this point, which is like, it's weird because I'm sorry. So of course, this, 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 this is what happened. But the point is that Sergey has only made like a calm and advantage saving move that doesn't allow any complications in the end game, and still, like after that, a lot of his advantage just disappeared. So the tempo actually matter here, or at least the engine thinks so. But I mean, who can be more right than the engine, right? Yeah, so we see players thinking about their move. I actually heard um, the clock ticking, which means some player, one of the two players, isn't byomi already. I would like to see which one of them. Ah, I have like an easier way of doing it, so I can go there. Okay, so Sergey isn't byomi. Um, yeah, what to say? I have talked about that, like these moments when even despite having advantage, um, Sergey takes some time to think, and obviously, like it's you can't really disagree with these decisions, but um, due to this, overall, his advantage has disappeared, and this is why at times, and most times, I would say, he is lower on time than his opponents, which is kind of a disadvantage to this like time management. I don't see whether Nikita has made the move or not. He hasn't yet. Now he has taken the pawn. So now we will see the point of Sergey's move. Yeah, and this is the pawn there, obviously. So now that pawn drop is supported by this bishop, so of course, in case the goal takes, the bishop just takes it. So the thing is, it really is an irritating like thread in the position of center, but once again, it's perhaps it has some long-term perspectives to drop some piece there, but not at this point. which, as I said, makes it harder to convert for Sergey. Okay, let's go back to the screen. And the engine here, by the way, it suggests dropping. Wait. Okay, it suggested. They can just move there. Okay. So the engine here suggested to do this, and claiming that, well, what have you done, Sergey? Your bishop is trapped now. And, well, apparently Sergey could have sacrificed this bishop for something, like even there, like, for example, king takes, or does it take? Okay, I mean, it takes here, goes there, and this position, according to the engine, is okay. Engines are weird, you know? Like, I don't know. Anyway, in the game, Nikita went there. I wonder whether it gives something up. I don't see any immediate refutation, but there might be issues. I heard Sergey playing something, and of course, now he will make moves quicker because he's on byoyomi. So he drops the bishop here, forcing the king to go back. Yeah. This seems like an absolutely logical decision. Just to, like, overall, it just makes opponents move useless, which is why you want to make it. And now, yeah, the conversion is like it has become way easier for Sergey, and his advantage is back because now he can actually legitimately, I'm sorry, would give up the bishop for the gold, which he does. Yeah, yeah, this is going to be a slaughter now because now now Gota's pieces can support dropping this gold on 3-7, and yeah, this will be devastating because let me show you. Just takes, like, of course Nikita's not forced to take there, but up to this is made, by the way. So yeah, you at, at least shouldn't take this gold, but then what do you do? So you shouldn't retreat there, but rather somewhere else. But there are no good options. Like, what here? Takes, like this. It's very bad. Like, it's just terrible. What to say? Yeah, so Nikita then did the thing that seems more rational. In spite of this horror, he took this pawn. I mean, it's still very depressing. Like, just look at this position. Like, here takes. Santa has absolutely no generals and hardly any pieces in their camp. Wow. That's a position you rarely see, I bet. Crazy. That wouldn't happen in like this particular way. Like here, for example, I think Santa can take, but this position, like, instead lost for sure. So anyway, there are some moves played by both sides. Yeah, so this is exactly what happens. Yeah, so and now the bishop promotes there. I mean, after that king, king to 4-8 move, Nikita is doing everything right because once again, had he done anything in another way, he would already lose or end up in a like impossible to carry position. But this king move was like very bad in spite of giving God this chance to drop this bishop to six. Yeah. Yeah, very bad news for Senta. The engine now tries to like get some counterplay with this knight. Nikita's doing it this way, which I mean to me it doesn't really make sense because the rook can just it can stay on the rank. Perhaps one thing that Nikita could be relying on in this scenario is like imagine this, this, and then dropping the second knight here, and then like takes like there, maybe some bishop drop or the rook drop. It's hard to think like rook drop has to be made. I think. But anyway, like this scenario creates some uh, drop-in opportunities for Sente and some exchange variations, which is of course dangerous to Sente, but at least it provides some play. And well, this is a good idea by Nikita, I would say, given the circumstance. Yeah, given the circumstances. Anyway, yeah, Sergey of course played it safely. Like I did not expect anything else from him. Like he just moved the rook there, of course. So now this idea doesn't work. Of course, you can like try to get the rook out of the protection of this rank, but it's not gonna be easy at all. The engine is already dropping generals and giving some attacking ideas, and I mean you can see the scale, you can see the percentage. So yeah, borderline hopeless position for Nikita, given that hope actually dies last. Is it the gold Sergey dropped? Yes, it is. So the engine here. Okay. So I'm sorry, I missed Nikita's move, which is this. Yeah. So just not abandoning this idea and blocking this roof, like not allowing it to infiltrate. And then Sergey puts his gold there. The engine claims that the silver is better, and the engine is right, of course. But this is also okay. Like this gold and bishop will just push king to some like unbearable positions. You know. Okay, yeah. So Nikita decides to go there, which is just well, gets immediately haunted by this bishop. Yeah, I think we're about to witness the end of this game. It doesn't really like matter now. I think there are many options how to win. Maybe an edge pawn push to prevent the further escape of the king. Once again, if Santa pushes any pawns forward, then just I mean the rook is still in the rank. The rook still can guard them. The engine suggests bringing the gold closer to the king. Yeah, there are really many options for Sergey to finish this game. Hmm, it's interesting. So Sergey decides to sacrifice the silver here. I wonder what exactly is the idea, because like this, like let's say this, um, he has no like pieces to make a finishing blow. Um, I don't think though that this is the move made out by like time trouble. I mean, of course, he's on byoyomi, but um, I think generally like when you're in this position and you're on byoyomi, like you make safer moves like this. So I think Sergey has calculated something, but I'm not sure about it. This is not what I expected from Sergey in this position. Maybe I don't see something. Ah, yeah, I missed the position. Yeah, I promise I got that before I saw the engine. So yeah, the idea, of course, is to like do this to the king and just, of course, be winning. And this is what Sergey does. Yeah. And now the engine just wants to give random checks to go to king. Yeah, so I think we can like conclude this game. I'm just waiting for the players to finish, then to um, you know express my thoughts on this game. Have to be respectful to the chance, although in this position it's really hard to respect it. Yeah, Nikita just makes last moves that prevent checkmate, and yeah, very um, um, Sergey decides to make delivering blows in well in good fashion. So instead of taking this with the pawn, well he took with the rook. Of course, that did not matter, but just to stress out the inevitability of checkmate that will be delivered to Santysky. Sorry, I think I haven't checked the chat for quite a long time. So the game has already finished, but I would listen to Sergey's commentary on the game and to players' commentary on the game, and then tell you what they say. Sorry, I'm about to tell you what they say in a couple of minutes. I just wait for them to finish. I'm sorry for that couple of minutes of being completely silent, but I don't really know how to tell you exactly what they say because they keep talking about the game, they keep analyzing, but the things that they have already said is of course they discuss Andrei, who was the broadcaster of this game, who installed the camera, who got to the club as well. So he points out the engine incentives that I mentioned in my commentary as well, and the main thing, like Sergey is pointing out few key points of the game. One of those, of course, is when I'm sorry, I'm just click this through. Uh, first of course, is when this happens. Like Andrei was pointing out that after this, the position was not that bad for Santa, and he's wondering why, because it's really hard to understand. And so this is one of the key moments. And Sergei says that after this move, he reflected in his mind that he did not have all that big advantage. I think, yeah. So yeah, he said that after he drops the bishop, he dropped the bishop. He did not think he had that big advantage, which I told you. I told you that I saw by Sergei's face, and perhaps you did so. And the other key point that Sergei is pointing out is, oi, uh, so yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, there's like, so yeah, so I'm struggling with Dojo Skifu, but the point is that the other point of the game they discussed later on when Sergei dropped this pawn here to 4-3. Uh, so Andrei has told Sergei that after dropping this pawn here, he had an equal position, but had he done this in another way, had he dropped the bishop here, firstly on 6-9, that would have been better for Gata. And Sergei asked, "Is there any difference?" Which is exactly what I said. Like, yeah. So this is what I heard, and right now they're discussing some matters of the elbow attack, or not the elbow, but of the edge attack that Sergei has launched to create the opportunity um, to then place this bishop there in this position. Sergei is still stressing out his amusement over not amusement. He's pointing out that he's amazed by the fact that the interchanging of the I'm going to show you via the board the change of the order of moves, like firstly placing the pawn there and then dropping the bishop there. He is really amazed at the fact that this makes some difference, which I agree with him totally. I do not understand this at all. Unfortunately, I missed something about what they discussed, but they discussed what happened before the pawn drop there. Perhaps they discussed some opportunities that were available for Sergei. Yeah, yeah. So Um, Sergey is right now is talking about that he wasn't prepared to make any further actions without dropping this pawn there. So on this square, uh, on 4-3 in particular, if you don't see my cursor. But yeah, that's what he said. He said that this is a very dangerous spot for the knight to be in, which is why he decided to prevent it. And he said that he wasn't ready to go for any kind of tactics and sacrifices for to start the attack well. Sergey is now talking about that despite him gaining the rook, it wasn't there wasn't like an immediate way of capitalizing off it, which is what I told in my commentary when we tried to analyze the positions that occurred after that. So of course there were a lot of holes, and Sergey agrees with that. But Sergey thinks that there's there was no particular way to actualize it in any way. Of course, mostly discussion is about the details of Sergei's attack because obviously, I mean, that's the main part of the game. Like Nikita, unfortunately, hasn't managed to uh, do any damage to Sergei's castle. I'm sorry. So Sergei's talking about one of Alireza Firouzja's games in the candidates tournament. I guess he compares one of his games to his game. I am not sure which in particular, but he points out that he would punish his apprentices for playing that bad. And not for playing that bad. I'm sorry, I messed this up. But Sergey is pointing out that he doesn't like that Firouzja used one of the openings that included a very wide variety of choice for one side for black, as he says, and very little, very narrow variety of opportunities for white. I guess he compares these to some variations of this game. I guess he compares it to go into attack without the pawn drop. I guess he thinks that if he went for this pawn drop, then he would end up being winning, of course. But he one mistake could make him lose. So yeah, that's quite rational. Okay, so the discussion has moved from discussing the game in particular, so I guess that won't be more use for you, dear watchers. So thank you for hanging out with me, those who did and those who will do while watching this. Um, so uh, thank you for your attention, and hopefully uh, we'll see you in other games of Minsk Shogi Classic. Goodbye.